I said you could maybe
Get older and go around.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt. Don't turn away.
Okay.
Yeah. I can tell things aren't like they used to be. Yeah. No, I've been last couple of weeks.
We go back Saturday and then get back Saturday and then Sunday, Monday, go in and get the new race. It's bad.
Yeah. I think I got some of that. I had a
Hey,
shoulder read
hey, Brad.
Hi.
Now don't. I gotta get
I have a
back.
hard time putting my twin sock on my right foot. That one's fine.
There you go. That's a pretty dress. Did you make it?
No.
No. I don't make them either.
There'll be 8 business here and she'll be 6. Still teaching? I teach her at their school. I did the job share until she was in 3rd and then went back full time in school.
Died.
Oh my.
Yeah, problems with
Because
he was eating a while ago.
remember Dave and I talking in the hallways.
When the night school learned how to find my going into he was really good.
This is metal. That's
Well, I mean, he passed, but is this a picture?
Not yet, but
Okay.
I'm trying to get all of you in
I didn't know
one.
if you were doing a video or a picture.
Yes,
Okay. Yeah.
you're going to be for posterity. So smile big. You don't count. I got you earlier. Now, there we go. Pretty ladies. There you are. Wow. Don't go walking out alone now. There we go, the pretty people.
Right. Judy, smile.
Cakes forever. Wait, remember that name?
Good to see you.
Yeah, stay here.
Don't move away.
Okay. Okay. Bill, calm down.
Matt, get over here.
Dad, stay where you are.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my goodness sakes. Oops, I better get more.
West of,
Are you done?
Southwest Gardens.
No, because
Southwest Gardens.
I'm done.
Urban.
look, you haven't got anything better to do.
Yep. That's what I mean.
I'm doing this free of charge, by the
Okay.
way. So
West of Showbrook.
You're not like the guy when you walk off the tourist boat taking your picture saying you can pick them up for $30 later.
I don't think anybody's going to want to wait you, sir. If I did a good enough job.
Oh, yes.
With me in it, or?
Yeah, you can get in it. I don't know what kind of picture you want to be in, but that's cool. I like that. I like that.
Her cell phone.
Yeah, those two guys, and I bought 4 shirts. 2 guys there, and for me and for Dick.
You know, if I
So that when we had our reunions, our golf reunions,
We could all wear
we could all wear them.
There,
How are you, Park?
I'm good. How about you? Dick?
No, I better go.
No, don't move yet.
Don't move.
Get over there by him.
Yeah, come on over here. Improve my reputation. Come on over here.
Well, either that or it's going to ruin his reputation.
Well,
Yeah, that's it.
This is 2 of the best golfers that ever came out of Hastings. Maybe the 2 best.
yeah, always definitely probably the best. Yeah.
Who is the best?
Well, when we were keeping score, nobody beat us.
No, you had glass to do that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Big jump.
Are you done? How about that?
How about that?
Pretty gal.
Thank you.
Remember asking your approval.
Oh.
I tried to get everybody in.
Yeah, well, let me stand back here.
You get up and go. It's so got up and in already.
I got to get.
Tough time where it is, right?
Well, that's the trouble if you live long enough. See, that's what happened to my dad when he was 101. All his friends were gone.
You can look over here if you want.
He wants a picture.
You've been taking us all the time.
Not you. I'm saving the best for last. Show me your braces. Oh, good. If you 3 ladies would all turn around in this direction, I could get all of you.
Oh, sure. No. Betty's the stubborn one. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I have my water. I'm holding my water.
Smile. You are on candid camera. And not very good either. Thank you, ladies.
Sure.
It's good to be seen. Oh, there's that guy. I've seen him before. That's one son-in-law on the left.
There's no pro baseball. There's no pro football. We actually went to a school store in Lincoln, and I walked in. I was talking to the guy.
Thank you.
I said, I'm from a state where they have a pro NFL team. He was like, yeah, I don't know why they don't have one here. Discrimination is too strong. I agree with that. The stadium we were there yesterday. And
We'll just pop it down.
thank you. It's good to see you again, Richard.
Yeah, that kind of good.
That's right, he is.
Anyone wants to just sit down anywhere. Find a seat.
You want me to stop or keep going?
Oh, I want you to video all kinds of stuff. I want to do the whole thing.
All right.
All right.
Gotcha.
All right. I want to thank everybody. Oh, no, I didn't see you. I
seen you yet.
saw Brian. I was walking in.
I'm going to go sit down.
Come and have a seat. I want to thank everybody for coming today. Honored and humbled by all you showing up. Would you get a seat and we'll start?
Oh, I was just gonna have to tell you to sit down when we share. You can't. I'm not sitting down.
Terry, you're invited to sit down.
Terry, sit down because they're gonna start. Yeah. Come sit. Come sit, Terry. Start.
Hey, Terry.
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 Terry, sit down.
You're going to help the program.
Okay.
All right. The theme of today is remembering Shirley. There's no formal sermons or anything like that. I was just going to share memories and do that. I put together a book of pictures. It's over there. Roger's got it right now. I went through our 25,000 plus pictures and pulled out about 600 pictures of Shirley throughout her 8 decades. Put them in a 30-page document. So if you have time to go through it, you'll probably find yourself in there. Most of you are in there. And I also put some memory sheets out here if you want to jot down your memories. They're on this table here. And put some.
Great.
My neighbor made those for me. He made about half a dozen of them and brought them over to me about 4 or 5 weeks after Shirley died. And he does this for friends and that. So when we decided we were coming back here, I said, Mike, you make some more of those for me. So he made some more, and I asked him for 30, but he couldn't make that many, so you may be short one. I don't know. I hope you got them.
I got the golf one.
That's what matters. All right. I'm going to ask Katrina to just lead us off in a prayer.
Yeah, okay. All right, everyone, let's bow our heads and pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together and share memories about my mom. Thank you for the comfort that it brings us to share stories and experiences together. I thank you for my mom's life and for the ways that she influenced and blessed each of us. Thank you for the times that we had with her and how much sweeter she made our lives just because we knew her. For us, death is permanent and isolating, but for you, it's not. I thank you and I praise you, and I remember with great comfort that you have power over death. You have promised us life eternal if we accept your sacrifice for us on the cross, and because of that, we can grieve with hope. I pray for this time together now, and I ask that our sharing would bring comfort and peace to our hearts. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, now, if I don't have a brain cramp, I'm going to try to introduce everybody here. So, she has the 2 children, Caleb and Eliana, 2 grandkids. They're the joy of Shirley's life. Our older daughter, well, first of all, her husband David couldn't come. Yes, I'm mixing up. And our other daughter, Kim, and her husband Dennis couldn't come. Kim is still recovering from an injury 15, 16 years ago, and it's a nervous system thing. So pray for her that she get better. They couldn't come, so in place of them, Don, Dennis's brother, decided he'd come to Nebraska and see what good life is all about. So he'd have his first trip out here in Nebraska. And then Marcia, Shirley's sister from Waxhaw, North Carolina, her boyfriend Tom, they're near Charlotte. And then we have Shirley's cousins over here, Renee and Betty from Holdridge. They've known her since she was born. Oh, my sister Janice and her husband CB from Clocker City, Kansas. And my niece Jackie, she's from Lincoln. That's it. Okay, then over here we have Janet, Terry Hunter. Terry's one who's disrupting things. He's in our class. Thanks a lot. Next to him is Rich. He's from Sunnyvale, California. I mentioned Terry, Janet, and Lincoln. Behind them we have Roger and Wanda from Pennsylvania. Roger was in our class. And back there we have Dee January. She was in our class. There was George, his wife Karen. George is in our class. And Karen, his best friend, is Renee.
Renee saved me when I moved from Bertrand to the big city of Holdridge, 5th grade. She took me under her wings, and I wouldn't have made it without her.
Way to go, Renee.
Good job.
And back there we have John. And John
Don't give him my phone number or address.
John has graciously accepted to take videos of today so we can share it with Kenny and Dennis. Okay, we're over here then. Back here we have Ron and Norma. Ron has known me my whole life. Basically, he's known me longer than anybody else here. His name is Neil from Hastings. And we have Ned. She belongs to John. And we have Judy. Judy's here in Hastings. Judy and her husband used to run all the reunions. And we've had so many good high school reunions over the years based on their work. That was great. We have Bill, Brenda, back behind him, up from Topeka, Kansas. Bill was a classmate, first grade. You've been, I don't know about the rest of these guys, haven't you? I know you were third grade. Yes. Back there, Pastor David King and his wife Jeanette. He's the son of Ron. Miss anything?
Mine's over in the car.
Oh, Nella, you're over there. Nella, our classmates over there, and her son Brian from Lincoln. Okay, I'll start out sharing some of my memories. How I met Shirley and that. Before I tell you how I met her, I'll tell you what led up to my meeting her. My dad was born and raised in Blue Hill and graduated, moved up here to Hastings. Eventually got a job as a plumber up in the Old Ammunition Depot. He was working with Met's dad out there. And he bought a house out on, no, first one. Anyway,
84th Street.
no, out on West Second. And that's where I was born. I was born out there and we spent the first 3 years there. And then he decided that he wanted to be a farmer again. So we bought a farm out by Trumbull, about a mile from where Ron's folks lived. And we lived out there for a while, and he had an accident. The neighbor put out his eye. He found out working with dust and that mowing or plowing didn't work. He got dust in his eye. But meanwhile, I started first grade in Trumbull. No kindergarten. I started first grade in one semester. So then he had to move back to Hastings, right down 1526 West 6th. Oh, Barnes Avenue was born. And 1526 West 6th. And I went to Morton. So my second half of first grade, I was in Morton. And then all of second grade, I was there. Oh, and Judy just showed up. Judy from Kearney. Thank you. And so he got this thing going again. He's going to be a farmer. He didn't know he's a plumber. So he bought 10 acres right up here, about a block and a half north here, 15 North Elm. And that was the summer between my second and third grade. So third grade, I went to Alcott to join the rest of these fine folks in Alcott. And that's when I met Shirley, third grade. And, you know, like I say, it was just love at first sight. We just fell in love and that was it. But I was a third grade boy and girls with bosoms and all that kind of stuff. So I actually don't even remember meeting her. She was a classmate.
Played jacks together.
Classmate all through grade school and high school and all that. And actually in junior high, we went to a couple parties together. I mean, she was her date and I was my date. But then in 10th grade, I had a good friend named Meredith Keller. We nicknamed him Squirrel. Okay. Well, he had the squirrely jump shot. We called him Squirrel. And Squirrel came up one day and said, you know, Dick, he said, I think you're going to ask Shirley out on a date. So that is me. So I asked her and she said yes. So we're going to go out on November 18th, 1955. And, you know, we're both 15 years old. And, well, you get your folks to be an Uber driver or you ride your bikes or whatever, you know. Well, I didn't have to do that because I double dated with Roger. Roger lived out south of town on a farm, so he had his license already to drive. So we double dated, and we went to the Rivoli Theater that night. And we saw 2 movies, and one of them was Lady Godiva, and the other one we never could remember. Don't know what it was. Anyway, so we don't even remember Ron's date. We asked him, Roger's date, and he doesn't know either. So anyway, did that, and then we had a hot torrid romance after that because we liked each other and we dated almost every weekend up until December 16th that year, and we shared our first kiss. So it was a very hot torrid romance. Not by today's standards, but in 1955 that was okay. And we dated throughout high school and decided by our senior year that we wanted to get married. And we both had aspirations of going to college, so we were going to put off marriage until after college. did. And as we were teenagers, Shirley was very heavy into 4-H. I mean, Shirley was a committed person. When she put her mind to something, she did it. She did it the best she could do. Whether it was grades, which she had A's all the way from 7th through 12th grade, whether it was playing the clarinet, which she was first chair in clarinet, whatever it was, she did great. Well, in 4-H, she got into clothing, and she won all kinds of medals and awards in clothing, county level, state level. She even won an award for clothing. She got a trip to Chicago for the 4-H National Club Congress. And then in baking and cooking, she got into the Pillsbury cherry pie baking contest, and she won the state championship in that. So again, she got to go to Chicago at 16 years old to represent the state in the cherry pie baking contest. She didn't win it. She got 4th. So out of the nation, wasn't too bad. So did that, and then at the end of her 4-H career, she and Roger were the king and queen of 4-H. She'll tell you later what that's all about. I don't know. So anyway, based on her 4-H background, her home economic stuff, it was kind of a foregone conclusion in her mind that she would go to college and study home economics. And she was going to concentrate on foods, and the goal was to become a hospital dietitian. So after we graduated, she trucked off her scholarships down to the University of Nebraska, and I went over here to Hastings College. And I was going to be a doctor. From 8th grade on, that was my goal, to be a doctor. So I went into pre-med, went 2 years to school here, and you know, every week or 2 weeks, I was up and down the road between here and Lincoln. And or she was coming here, I was going there. We were going to Beatrice, where her folks had moved to. So anyway, we're getting together. After 2 years, I decided to change majors. And I always say that I didn't want to go 10 more years in medical school, and so that's why I changed majors. But I moved down to the University of Nebraska. And I think maybe something had to do with her being there. But anyway, changed majors, didn't know what I was going to do. Went pharmacy for a semester, and that didn't work. So decided I'd go into math, because I always liked math. And then math courses, but I liked it. So that's what I did. So anyway, she keeps trucking along doing her home ec stuff at the high level. And I'm down here doing my math. And finally in the spring of '62, we got engaged. We were planning to get married next summer in '63. And she went ahead and graduated. And she had applied for and received an internship at the University of Minnesota Hospitals up in Twin Cities. She's going to be a hospital dietetic internship. So summertime, she took off and went up there. And the next fall, I went back to the University of Nebraska, and she's up there studying. It was a little farther to drive to Minneapolis, but I did it many times over the year. How many times was it a lot? And we went through that year, and then she came back, and we got married that summer in '63. And at that point, I still had 2 more math courses to take, so I'd go back to school. So that fall, I went back to school. We got our first apartment in Lincoln. She got her first dietetics job. She's now a registered dietitian, so she went to work for St. Elizabeth Hospital in Lincoln. And she worked there for 1 semester while I finished up my degree. And after I got my degree, I applied for several places, and I got a job with Univac up in the Twin Cities. So we pack up our stuff and we moved back up to Twin Cities. And when I get my job at Univac, I'm going to work the programmer. Shirley goes back to the University Hospitals and says, "Hi, I'm back." And they said, "Great, come join us." So they hired her back, and he said, "We got a great job for you. You're going to be the dietitian in charge of the main kitchen at University Hospital." Big job for a newbie, but she did great on it. She did everything great. So that was just the way she was. So we spent 2 years there in Minnesota, and after 2 years, I had an opportunity to move to California. Take a job transfer out to Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is about 2 hours north of LA. Now, we both grew up in Nebraska. And this is Glenn. He belongs to Judy. He's from Kearney. And that's Neil. Neil's a classmate. Okay, and
He went to California.
oh yeah. So we got opportunity to go to California, and we grew up in Nebraska. We knew how cold it was, we knew how hot it was. Well, you go to Minnesota, you find out Nebraska ain't that cold. It's really cold up in Minnesota. And they got 10,000 lakes, and there's a lot of humidity, and it's miserable in the summer, right? Ulster was there too, he knows. So anyway, there was a no-brainer to move to California. So we moved to California. And either fortunately or unfortunately, Shirley never got to be a dietitian again because she got pregnant. was good. And so in November of '66, our daughter Kim was born, and Shirley retired to be a wife and mother, which was really her goal anyway. She didn't want to be a career dietitian. So she dedicated herself to family at that point. And 3 years later, daughter Katrina was born, 1970. So now she had 2 daughters to take care of. Then, in 1973, we had an opportunity to move to San Jose. Another job transfer was into that. So we took that one and moved up to a bigger city again, because that's what we like. So we're up there, and about this time, Katrina's getting ready to start into nursing school. So Shirley took her and volunteered in nursing school, and it was a parent participation nursing school at San Jose State University. So they went to that. Meanwhile, she was helping out when she could in Kim's classroom. And Katrina got into school, and Shirley was dedicated all the time to them, taking care of whatever in the school classroom. She was helping the teachers. Really, really dedicated, very good at it. Kids loved her, the teachers loved her because she'd do anything they wanted. After they both got out of school, she continued the volunteering. She went back to the kindergarten teacher and said, "You need any help?" I said, "Sure." So for 19 and a half years, she volunteered in the kindergarten, helping them. And in the meantime, she also got involved through one of our neighbors in the precinct, voting precinct stuff. So she became a clerk in the precinct. So for 25 years, she was at the precinct. When you went to vote, local election, county election, state election, winter election, whatever it was, Shirley was there. And she was the first person they saw when they came in the door. So she sat there, this beautiful lady with a nice smile and a bright red lipstick. And they all knew her, and she knew most of the people in the precinct. And so that was really good. She was good to know. Easy to know. Oh, that's bright red lipstick. Shirley, you never left the house without her makeup. I mean, that, you just didn't go out in public if you didn't look like it. So I can't tell you how many times we were in a restaurant or walking down a mall or wherever, and somebody wouldn't come up, always a woman, not a man, and say, "Oh, I love your lipstick." They just really like their lipstick. So it kind of reminds me that you all know Will Rogers. Now, all you Nebraska people know that Will Rogers never met Barry Switzer. Right. But anyway, he made a statement, so I never met him I didn't like. Well, I don't think anybody ever met Shirley that didn't like her. She's so likable. Everybody liked her and loved her. So then we played bridge. We started playing bridge in Santa Maria, and we played more bridge when we got up to San Jose. We got in a duplicate group, and she was in some women's groups. And one of the people we were playing bridge with was a neighbor and friend who was a retired art teacher from junior high. She was telling us, she retired, so she was telling us how she was teaching this class at the senior center, watercolor class. And one night Shirley said, "You know, Linda, I can't draw, I can't paint, but would you mind if I came to your class?" She said, "Oh, certainly, come along." So she took her class. And we found out Shirley had this talent for art that was hidden, nobody knew it. She started painting beautiful watercolor paintings. And our house is full of watercolor paintings. Trina's got watercolor paintings, Kim's got watercolor paintings, Marcia's got watercolor paintings. We all have great paintings that she did. She's so involved in it, she even made 2 trips to France with watercolor painting groups to go there and study and do what they're doing. Marcia went with her on one trip. So it sounded like everything was happy. Well, she had 7 of the happiest days of her life. One was, I think, when we got married. 2 was when Kim was born. 3 was when Katrina was born. 4 was when Kim got married. 5 was when Katrina got married. 6 was when that little guy was born. 7 was when Lady here was born. Those were 7 very happy days. But all the days weren't happy. We had some major disappointments. One of them, I think she found out later on that she chose the wrong career. She should not have been a hospital dietitian. We didn't really have a guidance counselor in high school. He was there, but we didn't get any counseling. So home ec was for her. Well, she'd have really found out teaching was her thing. She should have been a teacher. Like several, like Judy's a teacher, other classmates were teachers. She should have been a teacher. She loved kids, loved working with them, they loved her. She made a great teacher out of her daughter. So that's what she should have been. And then there were some health disappointments. First one came in 1971. She had this infection in her nose, causing drainage in her nose. Doctors in Santa Maria couldn't figure out what it was. So she went to the UCLA Medical Center in LA, spent 11 days down there in the hospital. And they're pumping all kinds of fluids in her, medicines, whatever, trying to kill this thing. They couldn't kill it. It was a Staph aureus infection, which they said she probably got at the University of Minnesota Hospital. But she was never contagious to anybody. It was just that she had it. And it caused raised her nose. It was a real problem for her. So that was bad. And then in 1994, it was the scariest medical problem that she had. She was diagnosed with a tumor 2 inches right back from here in her brain. So we went in to have that checked, and we thought it was a meningioma. We thought it was benign, but we wouldn't know they operated. So it was tense days for daughter and Marcia and I. But he took this part of her skull off, went in there with what he called a jackhammer, and jackhammered this tumor to bits, little pieces, and sucked them out cell by cell. And it was benign meningioma, so that was good. The downside of it was, in doing that, he destroyed the olfactory nerve. So from 94 on, she had no sense of smell. And that was bad. Then there were some other things like an early hysterectomy and some gallbladder taken out, and she had some breast cancer later on, which she recovered from okay. But the biggest disappointment was the last 11 years. She was diagnosed 11 years ago with Parkinson's disease. And we knew that was bad because Marcia and her mother had it. She died from Parkinson's disease. And she's right there. And so we knew there was no beating Parkinson's. And so it got worse as the years went on. And in 2016, June 29, 16, she fell in the entryway and broke her femur. And she spent 90 days in a hospital in a skilled nursing facility getting fixed up. But they could never get her walking right by herself. She could walk a little bit, but you had a walker or some assistance to walk. So that was kind of down. It kept getting worse and worse and worse as the years went by. And then finally, November 1st, she came out of that skill facility. I knew I couldn't take care of her alone, so we hired a caregiver to come in and help. So she had a caregiver helping me for the last 4.5 years there. And it got worse and worse, and then November 1st of last year, get her up that morning and couldn't get her going. Took her temperature, it was really low. Her blood pressure was really low. So we called 911, took her to the hospital, and they weren't sure what it was. And they did a bunch of tests and that, and figured, well, it might be her heart. So they put her in the hospital overnight, planning to probably put a pacemaker in. And they talked to her cardiologist, he said, no way, her heart's fine. There's nothing wrong with the heart, it's the Parkinson's. So we kept her overnight. Well, next morning, everything kind of back to normal again. That's the nature of Parkinson's. So then the day before Thanksgiving, I went to get her up that morning, and she was basically comatose. Couldn't move, stiff. And called 911. They came to get her, and the ambulance guys even said it's probably a UTI infection. This happens in older women, and that's what happens. That's the symptoms of it. So they took her to the hospital. First thing was, yep, UTI. Took the analysis test, negative. It wasn't a UTI. So they didn't know what it was. So they decided to keep her overnight in the hospital and see what was going on. And unfortunately, the day before, they'd instituted a policy, thank you COVID, that no visitors in the hospital room, only the patient. So unlike other times, I couldn't advocate for her while she was in the hospital. And they kept her there a week, and the doctors figured that probably her Parkinson's meds were screwed up. So they changed her medications, and they sent her home after a week. She came home, her hallucinations were really off the chart, bad, not doing well at all. I called her Parkinson's specialist, who we've been seeing for several years. And he said, would they change her medicine to her? I told him. He said, oh, get her off that stuff. He said, that's 10 times worse than anything else. Increase hallucinations by a factor of 10. Put her back on what game. So we did that. We switched all that out. Went back to the other meds, and this is the, you go on one, you go off that one, ups and downs. So it was not good from then until December 23rd. We always had a tradition, since these guys were little, of going up to Katrina's and decorating cookies for Christmas. And that was a tradition. On the 23rd, we couldn't get her going, so we didn't make it that day. And that night, when she was more alert, I told her we didn't make it to decorate the cookies. She was devastated. So I said, well, we're probably not going to make it the 24th and 25th either, because the 24th we're supposed to go to Kim's, and the 25th to Katrina's. The morning of the 24th, it was a new Shirley. She got strong, she was ready to go, and so we made it up, we made it to Katrina's, we had lunch, or to Tim's, we had lunch on Christmas Eve, and that was fine. Christmas Day, got up, ready to go, we went to Katrina's, had lunch, watched the kids open their gifts, great time. 26th, not going to oops, she enough for that. I got that. And that's the way it was then until January 4th. That was it. Then she stopped breathing. She was having trouble swallowing, and I called the doctor that night before and told her that she was having trouble swallowing. And he said, well, it would change this one med a little bit, and if it still goes on for a few more days, give me a call back and we'll contact hospice. Oh, is that close? And he said, well, this is usually final stage. So, okay, 5 hours later, she's dead. So, you all miss her. She's a great lady. You all know that. So, okay, that's my sharing. Now we will have Marcia, you're next in line. I ordered these people in speaking here in the length of time they've known her. So Marcia's the longest, and Kim, and Katrina, and Dennis, David, and Kaylin, and Ellie. And then everyone else gets their turn. Well, I got some videos here of other people too.
You want me to go over there?
Wherever you want to sit.
Okay.
Where's comfortable.
I have to use glasses. So as Dick said, I'm Shirley's sister Marcia, and I've known her all my life. And she was 16 years older than I was, and even though there was a huge age difference, we were very close, especially when I moved to California after I graduated from University of Nebraska. So I lived with them for a couple of months before I found a job. So we used to think a lot alike, even though the age difference. We would buy similar cards or exact same cards for our parents for birthdays and things like that. So she was a great listener and very supportive of me. I always looked up to Shirley. When I was young, I wanted to become a dietitian because Shirley was a dietitian. And then I realized that is definitely not the field for me. So I went into business instead. While growing up in Nebraska, I always looked forward to visits from Shirley and her family from California and our visits to California. We would play card games, board games. My dad would show the family movies, which were on 35 millimeter, and then he would run them backwards. I don't know if you guys ever did that, but and it would be funny to watch the motions backwards. On the day after Christmas, when I was in California, we would get up super early, and neither one of us are really early risers, but we would get up early to go to the Hallmark store the day after Christmas to buy Christmas cards and decorations and paper and things like that. Our trips to Nebraska, I was just talking to Betty and Renee about this, is we would just get the giggles over just silly things. So we did that a lot. We had a few trips to the emergency room in Beatrice. We'd go to the Sunrise Bakery and get Krispies and cinnamon rolls, which we both really loved. And then we'd spend time with our parents. So one of my favorite memories is our trip to France, which Dick mentioned. So it was with an art group. I am not artistic in that way at all, so I came along, tagged along, and took photographs, which I love to do. And it really was an amazing experience. It was the first time I had been to Europe. Shirley had been once before. And just to go with an art group, you see things from a different perspective. It was truly amazing. We got to visit Monet's home and garden before all of the other tourists got in, so it was nice. It wasn't really crowded at all. We tried rose flavored ice cream for the first time, which was yummy. We toured an underground cave that was used where they used to get limestone for building materials. Very fascinating tour. We saw a giant water lily, which was like 5 feet in diameter. I'd never seen one that large before. Tried escargot for the first time, at least I did. I don't think Shirley even tried to buy it. No. And we were taking a tour around Paris, and our tour van guide got stopped because he had turned right on a red light. And so we got to watch him
they're very expressive with their hands and their facial expressions. Tried to talk it out of the ticket, but it didn't work. We tried uzu for the first time and last time. I didn't care for that. Shirley encouraged me to sketch a scene. We were in the town of Tour with everyone, and as my family knows, I can barely draw stick people from some of the games we played. But I did it and kind of followed her guidance, and it really didn't turn out too bad. And I still have it. So, in Paris, we stayed at the Hotel Regina Louvre, which was right next to the Louvre. And that very same year, they had filmed scenes from the movie Born Identity there. So it was kind of cool. They were both outside and inside, and we recognized all the scenes. At one of our dinners in the town of Tours, our table was next to this woman who had her dog with her, not on the ground. The dog was sitting on the chair, very prim and proper, eating off of a dinner plate. And I was trying to take pictures of that, and the lady did not like that. So I was trying to act like I was taking of the group, but she still knew I was taking of her. In Paris, we were warned that some of the toilets automatically flush. I don't know if you've been to France, but so we knew that, didn't have any problems in Paris. And on our bus on the way to the town of Tours, we stopped at a rest stop, and sure enough, they had automatic flushing toilets. I won't go into the details, but I was soaked from the knees down, and Shirley and I giggled about that all the way to the town of Tours. It was funny. Let's see, one of the restaurants we ate at in Paris, the staff didn't speak any English. The menus were all in French. And this kind gentleman sitting by himself actually helped our group order the food because he could speak both French and English. And after we left, I should have taken a picture of him because he looks so familiar to me, and he's an actor. To this day, I can't remember if it is, but if I see him in a movie, I'll go, that's him. So, anyways, yeah. So obviously, we saw a lot of famous paintings by Monet, Manet, Sisley, and of course the Virgin Mary painting in the Louvre. And so, just in closing, I found a poem online about sisters, and I just wanted to read it to you. I hope I won't cry. So I'm blessed to call you sister. I also call you friend. You've loved me unconditionally and stood through thick and thin. You've shared my joys and sorrows, my laughter and my tears. You've been my inspiration as I grew up through the years. There's something God has given us that's more than family. He placed a love for you, my sister Shirley, deep down in the heart of me. Shirley, I love you and miss you very much. Sorry. That's it.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So first, I'm going to read what Kim wrote about our mom. She said, "The first images that come to mind when I think of my mom are of a beautiful woman with a radiant smile, wearing brightly colored blouses with matching earrings and necklace, reaching out to give a hug with that little laugh she had while doing so. I have a zillion wonderful memories. I always thought she was the best mother. She made fantastic meals while I was growing up, and she decorated our home for each major holiday. She used to treat Katrina and I to an orange Julius or Mrs. Fields cookies when we were clothes shopping at the mall. I could continue to recite wonderful memories for the rest of the day, but the one thing I miss most about my mom is phone chats with her. Beginning in college and continuing from then, she always had time for us to talk whenever I would call. Whether it was for a 10-minute phone call for a question or to share what was going on and run some things by her for an hour, she always made me feel like I was the most important person in the world to her because she always had time for me. Her smiles, her hugs, and her caring, listening ear are some of the most precious things I valued in her." It's from Kim. And then my own thoughts. I said, my mom loved fresh pineapple and homegrown tomatoes. She loved Thanksgiving. She loved chocolate desserts. She loved painting, my dog Jasper, pictures of special events and time with people, and she especially loved her grandchildren. I have thousands of wonderful memories of her because she was the best kind of mom. She knew how to encourage. When Kim and I were participating in sports in high school, she would make colorful and creative signs for us on days of our track meets or my badminton games, and she would hang them in the bathroom to surprise us in the morning. I remember one colorful construction paper cut into the shape of a kite with a yarn tail that said, "Fly high against Branham," or another one that had sticks of gum on it, and I think it was something like, stick to it and you'll come out on top. My mom knew how to comfort. I have a few specific memories of times when I was homesick at running camp in high school or in college when Kim had moved to Minnesota, and when I would call her, no matter day or time, she had however long I needed to talk. She had all the time in the world for me. I knew she'd stay on the phone and listen as long as I needed her. My memories of her, of course, stretch throughout my life. I think one of my first memories of my life is in preschool when she saved my life. I was at a preschool end of year party. I remember eating cherries and sitting on the side of the pool and looking at how pretty the aqua color of was the pool with the little sunlight reflections of the bottom. And I remember she told me, don't get too close. And I was just sitting there thinking it was so pretty, and I leaned over and I fell in, and in my memory I was sinking and bubbles were going up and I was getting deeper, and I mean I still remember like this long time, and then this hand reached in and pulled me out to safety. And when I shared that with my mom several years ago, she told me, yeah, you were in there for like a second. I was right there. You fell in, I reached in and pulled you up, and in my mind it was like, oh no, I fell in, just what mom told me not to do. In kindergarten, my mom and I used to take walks around the block when I got out of school, and I remember one time I found this button on the sidewalk, and when we got home, she made this little cape for me for one of my stuffed animals, and I remember that was one of my favorite things. I was really bummed later on when I couldn't find where that little cape went. In elementary school, I remember her taking Kim and myself to swim lessons, always that reassuring face on the sidelines, and when we'd come home, I remember her making lunch and we'd eat outside on the picnic table. Often we'd stop at the fruit stand and get plums or cherries. I remember her being a chaperone for me in elementary school, all my field trips, and one in particular, I remember we made these clay horses, and I remember still making mine, and it wasn't looking like what I wanted it to, and I thought my mom's was like the best in the room, and I remember feeling so proud like that my mom had made this look like a perfect horse. I remember in middle school, I wanted my mom to French braid my hair, and so at one of the track meets, she asked one of my sister's teammates in high school, how do you do that? And so the girl did it on me, and my mom learned, and so after that, whenever I'd ask her, she'd French braid my hair. I think, though, that the jewel in my crown of memories is that my mom spent one day every week with me from the time that Caleb was born until Eliana was maybe first grade, and she would just spend the day. She'd watch the kids and play with them and let me get some things done, or we'd always have lunch together. We might go out to a park or go somewhere on an adventure together, and I think those are my most special memories. She always enjoyed and appreciated keeping up with everything going on in our lives, and I love her and I miss her, and I look forward to seeing her again in heaven.
Dennis. Okay, Dennis and David couldn't be here, so they graciously sent some videos.
Hello everyone, my name is Dennis Bradshaw, and I'm the husband of Kim Bradshaw, son-in-law of Dick and Shirley Kistler. I have known Shirley for about 21 years. Unfortunately, for the past 10 years, she has suffered from her illness. I don't have one story to tell you about my relationship with Shirley, so I will talk about our relationship together. Let's start at the beginning. In late 2001, I planned on attending a holiday dinner with Kim, Katrina, and Dick and Shirley in Walnut Creek, California. I called Dick and Shirley a few days before and asked them to stop by my house before heading to Walnut Creek. Once they arrived and we exchanged pleasantries, I asked Dick and Shirley for Kim's hand in marriage. I believe they both looked at each other and then said yes. I shook Dick's hand and received the outstretched arms of Shirley, who gave me a grand hug, and I knew I had their blessings. On to the wedding. On September 7, 2002, Kim and I were married in Fremont, California. In the beginning of the service, I had the pleasure of walking my father and Shirley from the lobby to their seats. I was not nervous at all walking with my dad to his seat, but taking Shirley down to her seat was a different story. I don't know if I was nervous about the wedding or that I was walking my mother-in-law to her seat. I think everyone knows that most churches have a slight decline from the back of the church to the front of the church, making it easier to see who is on stage. When I walked Shirley down to her seat, it felt like the decline in the aisle had increased to a great angle. I was holding on to Shirley's arm and had to repeat in my head, slow down, you were walking too fast. Shirley did a great job of holding me up for that short walk, and I must say, Shirley looked great in her blue dress. Just before I met Shirley, my mother had passed in 2000. I mention that because my mother's birthday was in March, which is the same month for my brother and I, and my mother-in-law, Shirley. This was great as God brought a mother-in-law into my life shortly after losing my mother. This also allowed us to celebrate our birthdays every year together and enjoy Shirley's great birthday cake. Throughout my life, family has always played games and is a natural fit with the Kisslers as they also enjoy playing games. Shirley was open to play most games and even tried to teach me to play bridge with Kim. Wasn't very successful. When Shirley was not in the best of health, she would be at the table observing and commenting as we played the game with the family. And I must also state how much I enjoyed going to Dick and Shirley's for dinner, as Shirley was a tremendous cook. I never left their house hungry. Lastly, I have to say I always felt welcomed by Shirley into the family and always enjoyed the greetings and hugs she would give me when we would get together. I will let everyone know that I hit the lottery for in-laws with Dick and Shirley. I couldn't ask for two better in-laws than the two of them. I was blessed with Shirley as a mother-in-law that any son-in-law would be proud of. And that's the impact that Shirley has had on my life, and she's dearly missed. Thank you.
Hi everyone. I'm sure I am not familiar to some of you, but my name's David. I am Shirley's son-in-law. And as I think about what really stands out with Shirley is it really was obvious how much she loved her family, how much she loved spending time with her grandkids, how much she loved spending time with all of us when we would have family gatherings, when Caleb and Eliana were very young, like in their first couple of years, she would come up pretty much once every week to spend time with them and Katrina. I know they don't remember that so much, but it was a very special time to at least be able to see that. I know it meant a lot to Katrina and myself for her to have that time. Family gatherings, we always knew that Shirley was excited about seeing everybody at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter. And it was just nice to have her just really enjoy everyone's company. My mom passed away about 7 years ago, and I always think back to just the comments that she would make to me about how much she enjoyed seeing Shirley at these events, and how she would say that Shirley would always make you feel comfortable. And I see that in terms of Shirley's very personable, just enjoys people. And I'm sure that all of you have your own stories and experiences, and you can relate to that too. She's a very special woman, and I miss her a lot.
My name is Caleb, and I have many wonderful memories of Grandma. Whether it was coming to my basketball games or being with us to Frost Cookies every year for Christmas, she'd be there helping me or cheering me on. Memories that I can recall with ease would be when we were young and we had a wooden playhouse. When Grandma would come over, she would play with us in the playhouse, and one day she brought over these curtains that she had made herself for the playhouse. She would also make and give us many things, including bean bags that we could play with, which she spent one afternoon with Mom making and sewing these bean bags that we could play with. As I got older, she and Grandpa would always be at my basketball games year after year, and they would always be cheering me on wherever I played, even if I lost. These are the memories I have of Grandma.
My name is Eliana, and I have some amazing memories of Grandma. I was born in 2009, so I don't really remember her as what Grandpa and my mom described, because it was more when she was not doing so good. But she always showed interest in what our hobbies were or what we were working on at school. And I remember one time we went to Wiener Schnitzel, which is this fast food place near our house. And as far as I remember, they have ice cream cones that are like, the ice cream on the cone is like 5 inches high. Probably wasn't that high, but they take the ice cream cone and they dip it in chocolate and bring it out. It was very messy and very yummy. It melted all over our hand because I couldn't eat it fast enough. Remember we pretended to make her food, which was like in the playhouse we'd take pasta and put sand on it, and she'd pretend to eat it. And I really miss her, and I think she'd be proud of us now.
Alright, the next song I'm going to play is, this is our caregiver. This is Hazel, who was the caregiver for the last, caregiver for the last 4.5 years.
Hello and good morning to everybody. My name is Hazel Evangelista. I'm Mom Shirley's caregiver for 4.5 years. And until now, I can still believe that she's already in God's place now. And I miss her so much. For a short period of time working with her and her family, I've learned a lot of things from her and seen her being so patient, humble, loving, and having a good spirit. Even though she's in pain and struggling on her Parkinson's, I could still see her sweet smile just to please everybody. She's really an amazing person. She loves so much her family and friends, and she treated me also as her own family. To Mom Shirley, I know you're in a good place now. No more suffering and no more pain, only happiness and peace. I have no chance to say goodbye to you because we don't expect that you will be gone so soon. Goodbye, and till we meet again, you're always in my prayers as well as your family. Thank you.
I have, there's 3 of them in the group we call the Magnificent Seven. Ned will explain that later on. One of them is Audrey. She's down in Texas, Beaumont, Texas. And she sent a video, but the video she sent was too big to fit on the phone or something, so I got half of it written down and the other half's on video. But here's the part that's written down. Shirley has been a perfect friend that I've treasured for the past 75 years, starting with kindergarten and continuing lifelong. In fact, when I think of Shirley, perfection is a word that comes to mind. She was recognized by teachers and fellow classmates as a perfect student. She was the perfect instrumentalist, playing first chair clarinet in band and orchestra. She was the perfect blue and purple ribbon winner in all her 4-H homemaking skills. It seems that in every school competition, every contest, the award was destined to be hers. When she took up painting, she was a picture perfect there also. Call it what you will, but perfection fills the bill. And along came Dick Kistler, who just fit in perfectly with his high grades, low golf scores, high notes in the brass section, and low shuffle on the dance floor. Shirley loved to laugh, and Dick loved to entertain her. He was proud of all that Shirley was, and they made a perfect couple. Shirley's degrees were earned with honors, of course, and she launched a successful career as a nutritionist. Still, Shirley excelled. Shirley overachieved. Shirley delivered. Twice she delivered big time. So she and Dick raised 2 beautiful daughters. I wonder what it was like for Kim and Katrina having perfect parents and meals prepared by a mother who was a university-trained kitchen expert. My own children would be surprised that I even recognized perfection, since I was so far from it. I truly regret that I can't attend Shirley's celebration event with you, knowing that Katrina and Kim will still have storied memories to share and perhaps shed light on the elusive topic of what it was like to be raised by a perfect mom.
Shirley loved to laugh, and that's one quality she and I shared over the years. I find it most appropriate in this situation to offer a good laugh for her dear friends who are attending her farewell with her family today. I don't remember which husband dubbed our group of 7 best friends the Magnificent 7. I can say for sure it was not my husband, since magnificent is not one of the first words that comes to mind in describing me. But there are several candidates here today who would qualify for that label, and I'm proud to call them my friends too. Anyway, we of the Magnificent 7 loved our biannual reunions, when we would revert to our teenage camaraderie in get-togethers at some exotic place, usually one of our homes, rehash old memories, giggle our heads off, and make new discoveries together. Each time, it became a loving friend fest with plenty of new laughs. At one of these reunions, when Shirley and I were roommates, we were in rotation for our morning showers. My turn was approaching, so I was in the bedroom with Shirley and I started undressing. I slid my undies over my hips and shimmied them down to the floor as I always do. True to my custom, I stepped one foot out of them, hooked the toes of the other foot under the undies, and did my high kick to catch them as they sailed through the air. It wasn't intended to entertain, it's just what I do. But I heard Shirley laughing out loud behind me, so I turned around to see why. As best she could, amidst her uncontrollable laughter, she said, "That's exactly how Dick undresses, and I love it." I hadn't a clue that Dick and I were fellow stripteaser entertainers for dear Shirley. But I still think of her when I'm preparing for my shower and I make a grand catch.
Greetings to all those in Nebraska. Sorry I can't be there with you, but my love goes out to you and to the family and the friends who are there sharing this moment. I was so lucky to have met Shirley in 7th grade, and with the group of friends that we made those years when we came together in junior high, we became a group of people who liked doing the things together. We loved being together, and we have so much that we learned from each other. I was really lucky that Shirley and Dick, you came to visit me. You came to Buffalo, and I surprised you by not being there because I was in the hospital having a preemie. The next time you came, you drove to Vermont, saw the leaves. We call that being a leaf peeper. And then again in Florida when you came to visit and you took me to Disney and the Space Center. Those were special times when someone so dear would come and visit me. We shared a lot as a group of friends, the clique. We didn't like that word, but that's really what we were. And we shared memories and thoughts. We remembered how we were, and that first time everybody visited, we talked about how we had changed. The consensus was we hadn't really changed. We'd become more of what we were. We were more religious. We were more kind. We were more caring. We were more silly. Yeah, we all became more. Some of us became more weighty too. Well, we shared an awful lot when we got together, but Shirley and I had a secret from basically probably early high school. This was the 50s. Shirley and I were at her house for a sleepover. We were nestled in bed, course, we didn't want to go to sleep, but that's where we were. And we were talking and talking. And finally, Shirley said, "Do you think you're in love?" I said, "No." Shirley said, "I think I am." Well, we kept that secret for a long time, but we know she was in love. Blessings to all. Please join me in keeping the memories, because that's keeping Shirley's life everlasting. Love to all. Love.
Hello, Dick. I'm glad you're doing this. Although it's a difficult thing for me to do, I'm trying. I remember Shirley so many, many, many years and times that we were together. We met in the 9th grade. Our mothers were their 4-H leaders for the Sunbonnet Susies. Shirley and I did many demonstrations together. In fact, one very memorable one at the state fair called Baking a Heavenly Angel Cake. We got first place. In fact, I think we even got a purple. That was right before she became the cherry pie baking champion of the nation. Such memories, and such dating memories, but with you and Shirley and Skip and I, we had so many laughters, and it was just a very special time in our lives. I'm glad we've been friends all these years. I miss Shirley. Thank you again for doing this. Bye.
That's it. That's all the videos I have. So.
Hello.
Whoops. Hazel, no, not you. So I'll open it up now. So Rich and Matt, you can talk. I've opened up for everybody to talk now. So you and Rich and everybody talk.
Me and who?
Everybody.
Oh.
Yeah.
Any takers?
Camera's on you.
I told Matt to try to limit it to 20 minutes, but we'll.
I guess that'll do. Oh dear.
Thank you.
Yeah, still. Oh, it's an effort. Oh. Once I get moving a little bit, I'll get oiled up and.
I know how it is.
Yeah. It's just the right knee. Oh, welcome to Nebraska. I told Dick, if I rattle on too long, to go like this, wind it down. So we'll see. I'll keep my eye on you.
All right.
Well, most of the time when I get in front of this many classmates, I make an absolute and total fool of myself and enjoy doing it. But today, you'll see a different side of me, a solemn side. And I'll try to get this in order, but I guess that doesn't matter. I tell you, Shirley was the epitome of a perfect person. She always looked like she stepped out of a bandbox. And like you said, she always had her makeup on. I remember at one slumber party we had at my home, and there was a basement apartment there that was empty, so we brought our sleeping bags in, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and Ellen Wieringet was up, and Nella was up. She's not listening to me. She never does. And we decided to go out and turn on the water hose and stick it through the basement window. Well, Shirley came out looking perfect. She was wet, but room-wise, she was perfect. She really was a perfect person. I'm sure she was a very good child, didn't cause her parents any anxiety. I know she never got a spanking. Boy, did I get them. I'll tell you. Shirley was captivating. When she had something to say, you listened. You didn't interrupt her, you listened, because she had something very worthwhile to comment on. And she was always right. She was.
Oh, she excelled in education. She had straight A's in every subject, all the way, 7th grade through her senior year. Try as I may, Miss Gator could never eke out more than a B or a C for my clumsiness in gym class. But I was a good swimmer. I could float real well. But she got all straight A's. And to me, that makes her #1 in our class. She was a wonderful scholar. This is something, oops, okay, getting more limbered here. So this was something that the group of girls we ran with, we were achievers. We liked to study. That makes us a little odd, but we did like to study. Okay, the Magnificent Seven. Here's 6 of us. The Magnificent. I'll pass that around. Oh, sorry.
Senior to senior here.
Yeah, I gotta watch it. We were 7, and then Sharon George had passed away. So we were down to 6. We had, as mentioned by Carolyn and Judy and Audrey, we had wonderful times together in our biannual get-together. How that happened, about 1990, Sharon George had this idea, and Carolyn was right in there with her too. But I credit those 2 with it.
Oh my God.
But that was a little too close. Okay. Where was I? Okay, now 1990. Most of the children were of teenage years or older, and we had been in communication over the years, but Sharon said, wouldn't it be fun if we got together every 3 years, and just the girls, and have this reunion? And Carolyn was the first to host it in '91 in Buffalo, New York. We had a grand time. And I'm happy to say Shirley made it to every reunion we had, except the one in 2019 at Carolyn's. And they were wonderful reunions. But we credit Sharon George and Carolyn with those reunions. And then sometimes they would coincide with our class reunions, so we had a double whammy there. Have a really good time. One of the most memorable was in, I think, '97, Dick, when we came to San Jose, and they put together, was it a VCR tape?
Yeah, those days of VCR.
Yeah, one of those old things, and it had Dionne Warwick singing. I won't sing. Do you know the way to San Jose? And all sorts of features on there of what we could expect to see in San Jose and enjoy. And guess what? Shirley and Dick had rented a stretch limo, and Dick was our big driver. And
Literally.
Shirley got champagne flutes for each of us. They had a black stem and the clear container part, the glass part, and in each one our own name was engraved. I still have that, and I use it frequently. We girls went together and bought Dick a special gift for that, because he was our big driver. But in presence of these fine children and not wanting to ruin their image of their grandfather. Yes, you're very welcome. You know I love you. But he graciously accepted this gift because he was our big driver. It has something to do with golf. It's something to do with body parts.
That's enough, Ned.
Okay, that's enough, Ned. That's right. All right. So, another talent of Shirley's was her artwork. And John and I have in our home several of her watercolors, and they have a special place in our home, and we see them every day. And we have a picture of the stretch limo and Dick, the big driver, in front of we have that picture. But she didn't paint that, though. No. No. Okay. We haven't done this yet.
No, you're doing fine.
Oh. Okay. wonderful things about Shirley is her smile. Like you said, in one of your writings, it was infectious, and it was. She's a beautiful person, perfect in every way. I can't think of any flaws Shirley had, except she is not here yet with us. And that wasn't her fault. She put up the good fight. But, 80 years is a pretty good long time. And then the girls mentioned her awards in 4-H. She had all these purples. I had a few blues and reds, but she was top notch. Everything that woman set out to do, she did with perfection, which just accentuates what I've said about her being the epitome of a perfect person. I hope I haven't forgotten anything that's... Oh, we had other good reunions, wonderful reunions, but nothing topped the stretch limo and those champagne. But I do remember San Antonio in 2014. That was a grand time, and that was one of Shirley's last times to go, because then in 16 we were at their home.
And you add to that John was the dedicated wheelchair pusher at that time.
Oh, wasn't he wonderful?
He was great.
Yes. And you were too. Yeah. But, that river walk and just everything about it, it just was an especially fun one. But it doesn't top the stretch limo and big driver.
You mean a wheelchair doesn't stretch that far? A wheelchair doesn't stretch that far?
No. I have here for Dick and his family a special card, and here's a verse for Shirley Gates Kistler. Those we love don't go away. They walk beside us every day, unseen and unheard, but always near, still loved and still missed and very dear. It's been my honor and privilege to remember Shirley in this celebration and think of her, and to be here with all you fine folks. I loved her dearly. She was a great friend. Thank you. Hope I didn't talk too long.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
I attribute my problems to rigor mortis. That's it. I'll try and make it over. Of course, listening to Dick and some of the stories brings back a ton of memories. But I have to give you the classic case with Shirley. It was about 4th grade, I think. And she was in the Girl Scouts, and they were having a square dance down at the City Auditorium. And she called, and it was one of these things where the girls asked the guys. I don't know, it wasn't a Sadie Hawkins thing. She called me up and asked me if I'd like to go. And I was thrilled. I said, yes. And she said, oh, thank goodness. I called George Baker. I called Dick Kistler. I called Larry Rader. I called Jack Osborne. I called Ernie Ersleben. And they couldn't make it. Boy, did I hit the jackpot. I was so lucky. So, that's my fondest memory. But these last few years, when Shirley was going through her problems with Parkinson's, I'd stop by their house after golf, and she and I had kind of a going thing where Dick would be standing there and I'd say, Shirley, has Dick found out about our trip? Or I'd come in and say, well, you remember our plans to run away, right? She'd say no, and I'd say, oh damn, I don't remember either. We'd have a lot of fun, and she was always very affectionate and cheerful and good. Other memories were, I followed the Kistlers around the country because I guess I had a sense of security that way. My first job was in Minnesota with Sperry Univac. Dick kind of arranged the interview. Then when I got tired of that, he hired me to come out and work for him in California. And then we all moved up to Northern California together. So I've been with the Kistlers a long time, and it's been a wonderful time. I can attest to her cooking because they were very nice to invite this old bachelor over to join them for Thanksgiving and stuff. And it's always terrific, very good food. I'm really not sure I should tell you some of these memories. At least there's two that are borderline.
Remember, Caleb and Ellie are here.
Well, maybe they won't understand this, and so I'll try it. But how many of you here play bridge? If you're a bridge player and you get a really bad hand where nothing works, they call that a bust. So I'm playing bridge with these folks one time, and Shirley was my partner, and everybody was drinking a little wine, and Shirley said, I've got a complete bust. And I said, well, I don't know if it's complete or not, but it's nice. She took it in stride very nicely. She was very tactful and skilled at social things, which is maybe where Dick got his talent. Guys, there's so many things I have to kind of try and remember. I think Dick wasn't feeling too well at their wedding.
Night before, yeah, the trip.
Yeah, remember that was
the flu.
But I was more nervous than he was as best man, which was a real honor. So happy for that. Again, Shirley was a wonderful lady, and like you've all said, she always had a smile. She was always friendly, always greeted you, and it was really nice to be with her. So we're all gonna miss her. And thank you all for coming. It's nice to see everybody, even if I don't recognize you.
Any other memories? Anybody want to share memories? Roger. You got to talk about King and Queen.
That's right. You talked about a lot of Shirley's 4-H activities and so forth. Well, I was a country boy, and so of course I had to be in 4-H too. And the story as far as significance of the 4-H is that, of course, that was my first introduction to Shirley, and you know, her smile was winged you to begin with that way, and was always enjoyable to be around and with. And each year they would end up having a king and a queen, and one year Shirley was the queen and I was the king. But she was smart enough to realize her real king was going to be Dick. But no, I've known both Dick and Shirley for a long time. Actually, they sort of helped orient this country boy into the Hastings school system. I started out 1 year in a country schoolhouse, and then went to Juniata up through the 8th grade, and then the last year of junior high I transferred over. But I found out from George that Dick's parents, George's parents, and my parents were all in a square dance club, and they would meet in the second floor there in the Tribune building. So Dick and I go to movies and stuff like that, and so he became my hand in school, so it really worked out well. But no, they were always just so much fun to be with, and you know, I'm glad Dick gave me credit. I didn't want to make sure that I cut his romance time short with Shirley by not driving him to the movies. No, we had a lot of fun together. So I remember her well, and you know, she'll always be in our hearts and our prayers. Thank you.
There's one thing I forgot to mention. Just to set the record straight, I've known Shirley much longer than Dick ever did, because I went to nursery school with her at the Presbyterian Church at 4 years old.
Just the boat. Anybody else? Vickers? Okay. Pastor David King is here. Will lead us in a prayer. Close it off.
I will say something since I now have the floor.
Okay, that's good. You are too. So.
Well, for us, you know, of course, you know, we're Ron and Norma's. I'm Ron and Norma's son, oldest son, and my wife Jeanette, and really wanted to be able to see Dick again. And I heard Katrina was coming, and I thought, wow, that would be really neat. And, my experience starts with Chet and Lola, Dick's parents, who were really good friends with my grandparents. And so that was where our experience kind of started with Dick and Shirley. And for me, you know, I never felt like Nebraska left Shirley. I felt like Nebraska was always there with her. Every time they'd come back, I still remember that, what was it, a green Ford station wagon? Yeah, I remember that. I remember you guys coming out in that. But I never felt like Nebraska really left Shirley. I felt like she always had some of that with her, even though you guys have been in California for so long. And so as a Nebraska kid, I always appreciated that. So anyway, thanks for allowing me to come.
Yes, glad you did.
Let's pray together. We thank you, Lord, for your blessings. We thank you for all you've given us. And for those here today, family and close friends of Shirley's, you've given us much in Shirley. It's been already stated about her personality and her smile, the way she taught, which I'm sure carried over very well with into family life, with the way she taught her girls. And so we're thankful for all those things, and we're thankful for the hope that we have in eternal life in you. And we know that is something that was near to Shirley's heart. And we just pray today, Lord, that as we close this service, that we would be reminded that your son Jesus did give us the greatest blessing of all. And that is the hope that we could be with you someday, and the hope we can see those that we love someday in heaven. We thank you for this time together. Many prayers of peace and comfort to the family, to friends, and we just thank you for your son. We pray in his name. Amen.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, lunch today, Rich made me alone, so it's on me. And it's down at the down at Murphy's Wagon Wheel. If you don't know where it is, everybody know where Wagon Wheel is, by the way? No. Okay, I should have a map here somewhere. I don't know where they went.
First in Lincoln.
I had some. Yeah. Well, see that street right there, 12th Street? Get on 12th, Burlington. Get on Burlington to 2nd. Then go 2 blocks, 1 block, and 1 block back.
Oh, okay.
It's right there. It's at First and Lincoln.
First in Lincoln.
So, and it's just,
I know it well.
you don't know. Yeah, you know. Okay, then, I thank you all again for coming. It's been great. You all showed up. It started out, going to be me coming back, scattering some ashes, and going into this. So, thank you.